And welcome to another episode of The Packet Party. This is Packet Party episode 10, continuing on from our most listened to, well-received episode yet, our episode with Maggie and Hannah, talking through us about what it's like to be a woman in IT. Now in this next episode, following on from the last, we're going to look and dive deeper into the good, bad and the ugly, and more importantly, how we as men can actually be a lot more supportive of women inside of IT in the workforce.
With this platform, and you guys are amplifying the message really well. Tell me, what do you count as a win for this advocacy? We know where the end goal lies, and that's really the victory. And it's not the finish line by any means, but in your timeline, what do you count as a win? And when you see it happen, you'd say, yes, we did that.
We see wins, I think, a lot with Bend and Snap because we take surveys, how did you feel before, how do you feel after? And we get those little wins of, I didn't know you could do this in IT. I found where I want to go. I wasn't sure what you could do in IT, and now I'm on a really good path. Thank you so much. Those are little wins I think that we have from what we run at Bend and Snap. Totally. But then it's also for me the young women that I mentor. The people that mentor me, I'm sure they see wins when I go back to them like, oh, hey, we were speaking about this last time about conflict or confidence or whatnot, and I was able to do that. That's a win for them. That's then kind of a win for the industry. Yeah. So
small wins.
Yeah, it's little things that always add up at the end of the day. So there's no massive one that I could say, this is it. It's the little things which make it fun.
I even feel like the birth, if you will, of Bend and Snap was at an event that we had in Brisbane between some local partners, and that was when we realised that there was five women in the room of about 40 people, and I think we all kind of it was a bit of a joke at the start. We were like, oh my god, lol, like get a load of this, and then we were like, wait, why don't we do something about that? Or like even just create another space. Maybe we can all catch up and share stories or just sort of, create a little bit of a mini meetup just with the girls in that group. Yeah. But then now, like last week, we had a similar, actually the same exact event was last Thursday. And I would say there was probably about, would you say 15 women? Maybe just under
100, yeah.
Yeah, but there was a lot more to the point.
Oh yeah,
and we were kind of laughing about it, going like, God, this is now we're talking. Like now it feels progress. That's in a year, and I feel like that was because Maggie and I do a lot of networking with these women in those roles that we work with every single day. We partner really well with them in our day-to-day jobs, but also because we invite them, we talk about it. We have other little meetings, or we go to their office sometimes, and we do some things for Bend and Snap there. So it's like we're encouraging them to turn up. So when we do turn up, there are more of us, which I think that's a win because now it's more fun, right? Like, oh yeah, like all the girls are getting together at this event, amazing, because all the boys always have a great time because they're all mates. They've all been mates for like 30 years. Yeah. So we're kind of now starting that little tradition. So like that's a win. Yeah. Also feel like a win, and we can't take I'm going to say that we can't take credit for this because it's our fantastic sales director, but we have almost an all-female sales team. Like our Brisbane space is very much almost getting there with that balance. Yeah. Like we were in a meeting the other week and I looked around and I counted, because this is just what
it's what we do. Yeah, it's our brains.
It's our brains. I did count the percentage. It was 16 women and 15 men, and I was like, oh my god, this is so, like, it's just crazy now. Like, it's just, that's how it should be. That's how it always should be. I'm sorry. Like, that doesn't need to be shouted out from the rooftops, or like, it doesn't need to be a celebration really. Right. But it is a celebration when it's never been like that before, ever in this office. So that's a win.
Yeah, and we try to take that lens to other meetings as well. And it's slowly improving when we catch up with partners and all that kind of stuff. And from the most recent Bend and Snap event, one of the amazing pieces of feedback that we got from one of our male colleagues was like, I didn't know all the stuff that you guys go through. It's really brought it to the front of my brain, and how not that he was ever inconsiderate of it, it's now not at the back, he's at the front.
It's more conscious of it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So is that, would you say, the legacy that you'd be leaving our future generations, not just women, but humanity as a whole? That, look, your peers, be it men or women, have their own set of struggles. But we've kept the spotlight away from women's struggles and the realities of their lives for so long that it's about time that you guys be more conscious of it. And so that, it's funny, I'm thinking about this now, just came to my head that, for example, in geopolitics, like legislation is still very much decided upon by a few old men. I can see that face, and
it's interesting. It's crazy,
right?
Yeah, something they have no idea about that is going to change potentially.
So why do we give them the power to decide what women should do with their bodies and their lives? Because these old men think they know better. Okay, I'm not being a feminist here, but it's the reality. Now, I guess where I'm getting at is we're working towards a future that, people are slowly more conscious. I remember telling this my daughter, if men had menstruation, if they had their monthly period, we'd probably have like a 1 week out of a month for a menstrual break.
An actual example of that. You look at the prostate exam for a man.
Yeah.
It was up the bum to test it from a doctor. It is now a blood test.
Right.
You look at women's with polycystic ovary syndrome, which has been studied for years, has now been changed to PMOS. I'm not sure what that breaks down to. And it's taken 30 years.
Right.
Again, I'm not sure how long it's taken to change it from to a blood test.
Yeah.
But it's
right.
It's crazy.
Right.
Crazy. And that endometriosis, adenomyosis, PMDD or whatever it's called, premenstrual
dysphoria disorder.
Dysphoria disorder has not been studied, and there is no medication for it. The pill has to be taken by a woman because what ifs for a man was too long.
Yep.
So it's just, when will we be seen as equal individuals?
Yep.
And that's what I would love for my hypothetical non-existent daughters to know, that they are equal, that they should not listen to that little voice in their head.
Yeah.
That they get the same healthcare. And I feel like that's a really great call out, Mags, on all of those medical issues that you've just labelled. But also the fact that probably, I don't even know the exact date, but I want to say until like the 60s, that women would be treated for like mental, they'd go to a doctor with postnatal depression and be like institutionalized.
Right.
Because that was, melancholies.
Oh,
like
yes.
they have forever, and still to this day, they diminish women's health concerns. This is that, and I feel like getting onto that topic is, a little bit off topic for a moment. But I do believe that when people say, "Oh no, but why are you guys you're still on about this? You're still on about equality? Like, don't you have it all already? Like, what else do you want?" And then you look at that and you say, there are actual men making legislative changes to healthcare that women receive still now today.
That's right.
And they are talking about that in our country that we live in. And that makes me, as you can probably hear in my voice, extremely enraged, because we are still living in that time. It is a dystopian, ancient and dystopian horror that is still continuously happening. So no, I'm not going to stop banging this drum, because nothing has changed.
Yep.
Yes, we have moved forward, and absolutely we have so much advocacy, but we are still not there yet. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but we will not stop banging on about it. And I think that our male counterparts, our friends, whatever, I think all of us need to be talking about it, because it's not changing.
True. And it almost feels like we're taking a step back right now.
100% it does, which is freaking terrifying.
Coming back to the prostate exam stuff, I want to make sure I got my facts straight. So first line of defence used to be a whoop, but now it is recommended that you have a blood test as the first screening, and then if there's abnormalities, then there's a whoop. So,
okay.
But
just because, guys, I'm sure people.
Oh, it's invasive, right?
It is.
Hello.
Can you talk about getting a scraping of my uterine lining to see if
that's
my pap smear?
still a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway,
that's
a
conversation for another day.
And the reason why kind of that got brought up was it flows on to industries as well, to the industry that we're dealing with, and it's the same message that we're sending across. Like, guys, we should be more mindful of, across people's lives, not just men or women, just across everybody's lives, that, this is the reality of it, and women tend to have more challenge overcoming these barriers than men have traditionally gone. So I think in a long-winded question, would you say that's the kind of legacy that you guys are looking to leave for future generations, and for them to build upon?
Yeah.
I think like in our industry in particular, because I'm mindful of, I feel like I want to answer the question from that lens. I think the legacy, like speaking for myself, but also I imagine Max feels the same. I feel like the legacy that we want to leave is that working in this industry is a safe space where you will be heard, where you will have a shot at a leadership position just as equally as your male counterpart would, because you are skilled enough, because you've been nurtured and mentored correctly, and you're getting all the opportunities. I think that's the legacy. I feel like everything else is going to happen, organically, because of the next generation of humans that are coming into this space. I feel like we are lucky enough to be right in the middle of, we're seeing a generation on the tail end, and we're also seeing a new generation coming through. The only real legacy I want to leave is that it's in a better place for women than it would have been 10 years ago. Because in 10 years' time, I think it will be an even better place. It's an even better place now than it would have been 10 years ago for a woman in our role. And we hear that all the time. Yeah. We have some amazing women that support us and have started this movement that will sit there and say, I love what you guys do, because you're still fighting the battle that I had, but you also, take a moment to really look how far we've come, because it has changed dramatically since, let's say, 20 years. And I think in the next 5 to 10 it will change again, because we are seeing that generational change.
It almost feels like, and tell me if you agree with this, it almost feels like you guys are, like you said, you're building the foundation and, reaching out to girls in school, in high school, in uni. And almost like when you get to a critical point that we have enough women in the workforce to balance out the men in the workforce, that kind of just opens up that, it flows up.
That's exactly right, to that point.
When you meet you'll see startly, and I think I've seen it in our company now that there's more women in leadership, not as many as you would want maybe, but there's...
It's changing.
It has, right?
But I think that's because there are more women being nurtured and considered, because
Correct.
I don't think historically they would have been.
Correct.
Or they would have taken that time off and they would have come back to work. And, Maggie and I haven't experienced this yet, but I do know that there is a lot of challenges, and maybe we talk about this in the future when maybe we have had these challenges, but returning to work after you've taken a leave of absence, that's a whole nother set of challenges that I think that women have faced.
Yeah.
Because you set back, you take a year away from your role. Like that's huge in progression terms. Like I think that's the it's changing, and I feel like we're just going to keep kind of pumping. We call it like pipeline. We're in sales, right? Like it's all about that pipeline generation.
Yep.
We're wanting to create more of a pipeline for that exact reason. So when we look at the gender pay gap in 10 years' time, the statistics won't be as skewed, because we'll have, hopefully, 50-50 playing field in executive leadership positions.
Yeah.
So we'll actually be able to see then, is there a gap now? Because now we've got 50% women leaders, 50% male leaders. How are we looking at the discrepancy there? Like that will be balanced. I firmly believe that will be balanced when the scales are even with those positions.
Love that.
So just before we shift gears, this is something I've been meaning to ask you, but how do someone like me, who's watching from the sidelines, how do we pledge our support to your movement?
Great question. There is someone who's really good that we both all know really well, and it starts with calling out grubby behaviour.
Yeah.
Hey mate, that's not okay. Check yourself. Hey, and I think that's just where it starts.
Yeah.
Identifying top talent, or hey, like we've got some new engineers who have just not new, but engineers. How can we connect them with the brains of yourself? How can you connect them with enterprise engineers? How can we help grow their network to support them? Those would be the two things that I would call out. I think that will have the most impact from what I see. Han?
No, I agree definitely on the calling out the behaviour, because I feel like, and I think we're going to maybe get into it, but I feel like some of the challenges that are still every single day, facing them every single day, is if someone does make that comment, or someone does even make a little joke about, you know, your age or your gender, and it's always a joke, right?
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, it's funny. And then sort of, I guess, calling it out and sort of being like, wait a minute, wait, why do you think that? Or, you know, that's a stereotype. And if, you know, people say, oh no, I wouldn't get into coding because that's a bit of a man's job. Like, just being like, well, no, like just reshifting, like education, like just reshifting it, or the way you are with your kids. Like, you know, you can do this, you can do that. And I know that there are, most people do that already. But I feel like for us and for our movement, and it's also not about, it's like, don't roll your eyes either. Like if we're on about, or we're having another event for women, it's like, don't sit there and go, oh, well, when's the boys one coming? Because you know what I say to that? I say, go ahead and organise one yourself for the boys. If you're so concerned about what we're doing and that we're doing this and we're passionate about it, and you have a problem with that because you think that it, you know, we're all about gender equality, which we are. However, we're not seeing anyone else out there creating these programs for up and coming male engineers. They exist, absolutely, but I think when anyone's got a problem with it, it's like, call it out, ask them why they're not doing that. If they have an issue with what we're doing, we can turn it back and say, well, what are you doing about that for you? Like if you're wanting to encourage more young men, absolutely.
World's yours, mate.
Pop off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess sometimes, and look, I'm not going to deny this. I've even told my daughter this. Generally, women are much smarter than men in that sense. In that sometimes men have to get a few scrapes and bumps before they learn their lessons. Women, you don't have to as much. But my point is, sometimes men tend to feel like, oh, should we be doing this? Ooh, I wonder what they would feel. You know, sometimes I agree with what you said. Just do it. Go ahead. And, you know, don't mind. If you're so conscious about what the women are doing, you probably have too much time on your hands.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Find something to do with it. And, you know, and men can always make it more inclusive. Like, don't just close it off to young men. Maybe make it more neutral and just aim for that outcome instead of making it about men and women. So, that's just me rambling on.
That's fair. Let them. People need to go do their thing. People are so easy to judge, but it's like, would you do what we are doing? Would you have done what I have done? No, you wouldn't. So you probably don't need to comment.
Anyway, so I'm just a bit mindful of the time, but we have a bit more, 30 minutes to go. So let's just take a look at the more personal side of things. Getting into tech. This goes for both of you. What's going well in your career right now?
You can go first, Hannah.
What's going well in my career right now? Well, I feel like what is going well is my confidence. I think that I've finally gotten to a stage where, like I was saying earlier about the imposter syndrome, that I no longer feel that anymore. I know that I know what I'm talking about. If I don't, I'll say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me go and find out. Let me go and ask someone who's more qualified to ask this question, answer this question. I'm not afraid of not knowing. I'm also...
May I add on that? This was lingering in my head earlier. Sorry to interrupt you there, but you mentioned imposter syndrome, and I feel like anyone who's decent enough to feel that shouldn't actually feel too bad. And this has been taught to me before, that if you're feeling that imposter syndrome or the dread of being found out, that you know people might think you don't know what you're doing, it's only because you care enough to feel that way, and it's okay. But like you said, at the end of the day, you have to learn how to handle it, and I think that's kind of the message that you're saying, right? Like, find a way to get around it, to work around it, and it's good. I'm actually amazed that you don't feel. I won't finish that sentence and say you don't feel it anymore.
Correct. Yes.
Probably you don't feel as much, it's not as debilitating as it used to be.
I think that's a very good way of putting it. It's definitely not as debilitating as it was. But even now, if I get the feeling, I've reframed it like I said before. It's just it's a protective mechanism, because I'm, I used to get it really badly if I had to like present or talk about something.
Yeah.
And if you ask me a question, as you've probably figured out from asking these questions, I'm not afraid to talk about something. Like if I'm knowledgeable, if I'm passionate about it, it, I will talk someone's ear off about it. So I think up until the point where I felt really confident about my job and my role and the expectation of me as a Cisco seller, I think that's what it just took until I realized that I was confident because I understood and I knew and I felt armed with enough resources and with enough of my education around the certain things. That's when it sort of started to dissipate a little bit. But also there was another part of my brain that was like, wait a minute, you're the youngest person in this room, you're the only female in this room. That was another level of imposter syndrome. It wasn't that I was not a technical resource and I didn't go to university or I'd been at Cisco for a very limited time. It wasn't that. It was, they're not going to look at me and think that I can add any value here because I'm different, I'm younger, and I look the way that I do potentially. Like there was a few other things. Mm-hmm. So like, that's what I don't feel like anymore. I'm still very conscious that if I walk into a room and someone asks me to, draw BGP up on the whiteboard, I'm like, oh, geez, wait a minute, I need to call in my network engineer for this.
Don't worry, I can't do that either. So.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like that's no longer my fear because I know that I'm like, cool, actually, I've got a really great person for that. I've got a great woman for that. But what I'm no longer afraid of, and this is where I come to where you're asking what's going well, is that when I walk into a room now and I own that. I stand at the head of the table. I will sometimes seat myself at the head of the table. I open my notebook, I introduce the meeting, I've got my slides prepared, I've organized catering because I'm just a bad bitch at doing my job, and it's like I'm owning the shit out of this now. Yep. And I'm good at that. And I don't, even if I walk in and I kind of sense, oh, wow, she's the only girl in the room. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I am. And I'm fantastic at it. And my femininity and my womanhood even just makes me even better at this job. Like, you have no idea. Yes. That is what is going well for me. Because I've reached a point now where we walk into rooms and we have to teach these 16-year-olds how to walk into a room and hold their heads up high. Yeah. So I've got to do it every single day. And I love it. So that's my answer.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. And from the sidelines, watching Han kind of just go from strength to strength, girlfriend to girlfriend, it's fantastic. Like you got your girlfriends around you that you're like, oh yeah, she's succeeding, I'm succeeding, like she's succeeding, I'm so happy for her. And I think that's one thing that's really important about where you work. You've got to have a girl gang around you that's not what am I thinking? Not trying to pull you down in the background. Yeah. It's I'm genuinely happy for them. Yeah. And that culture, I think, is there most of the time, but sometimes it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sisterhood is very important.
Yes, exactly. But for me, my career, I think the last 11, 12 months, I've kind of really found my confidence. I was very lucky to be part of a program that kind of helped reframe a lot of imposter syndrome and whatnot. Confidence is not something that comes naturally to me. Every day it's worked on. Every day it's not a challenge, but it's just something that I'm reframing in my brain constantly. You can do this, you're doing this and whatnot.
And you're killing it.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's what's going well for me, finding my confidence, finding my voice. And there's an instance a wee while ago, Fred, I think you're on that call, where it was people just weren't listening, people were disgruntled, and someone tried to talk over me. And I ended up speaking over them. I said, I'd appreciate it if you could listen. And that person zipped. And normally I just kind of sit back and be like,
that's like the nice version, right?
Yeah.
We all know what really happened.
But it's finding my confidence, finding my voice, and knowing that I'm very good at what I do. I have what does Liam Neeson say in that movie? I've got a very special set of skills. I do have a very special set of skills, from sales to channel management to mentorship and leading people and hunting and finding and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, really finding my value and not having people articulate it to me, actually being able to have my cup full enough, like, actually, Fred, I'm really good at X, Y, Z, rather than you be like, oh, Maggie, you're really good at this. And like, oh yeah, cool, thanks.
And look, I 100% agree, because in some ways, my role overlapping with yours for a little bit. And I am witness, and I'm honored to be witness to this, because some of the customers that you worked with in the past, even in the present, have nothing but the best words to say to you.
Yeah.
They've got the best words.
No, it's awesome. I love ducking my head in meetings, like, hi, how you going? Yeah, it's and the great thing about all these customers is that I can heckle them. Like, we've got stuff that we're doing with customers at the moment that started a little poke, like, why are you using that? Like, what is going on? And then it's just turned into a great relationship, and yeah, it's working well for everyone, which is great.
Yeah. But as characteristic of this podcast, I don't just cover the good parts. Tell me a bit more about the ugly truths, the myths, and some of the other stuff that people can't just quite see past the glamour of it.
Yeah.
And once they get into the business, like for you guys, what are some of those things that, oh, I never expected this.
Yeah.
And as a follow through, make it juicy. Tell me a situation where you actually went, what? For real?
Yeah.
Are you asking me that right now?
Why don't I flip that? A question back to you, Fred. What do you think we face every day as women in IT? And then we can kind of go off the back of that and be like, well, actually.
Well, one really interesting story that stood out is that part with, that situation you've dealt with old mate talking over you.
Yeah.
In the past hour, we've been kind of touching upon those things in here and there with, are you the account manager? Are you going to talk to me about this?
Yeah.
Hannah, I'm sure you've been asked, well, are you sure you want to talk about this? Or can you? Or do you need somebody else to help you talk about this?
Yeah.
But those are just from my limited perspective because you guys, and to be honest, you guys deal with more people than I do, and that's by design. I choose not to deal with people because I'm an engineer. I hate talking to people.
You're very good at it, though.
You're so
You are
good.
very good.
It's part of the job.
Yeah.
Yes, well, you do it well.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
I don't know. I feel like it's a tricky one, and Maggie and I have caught ourselves up on this when we found ourselves in a room with some young interns, and we sort of started a conversation around some of the bad bits, and then you get quite carried away, and it can, to be honest, it can be pretty dark. Like I think there are certain experiences that I know that I've had, and I know that every single woman that has worked anywhere, every single woman in this planet has experienced some form of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big one, and I had an experience last year that was pretty rattling, to be honest. Like I would pride myself on being very strong-willed and very confident in the face of that. But and women say this, it's like, oh, you laugh along or you play it off as a joke because that's self-preservation. So I had to do that for a couple of days back to back. And it was so exhausting, Fred. Like when I tell you that I think, it was when I got back, it was pretty, I had to share it with my friends and my close confidants, I guess, because it was so, I just was so tired of how I had to hold myself every single day because this person was treating me a certain way because I was a young female. Not in a degrading sense, but in a sexual harassment sense. And I feel like that was very, you kind of forget sometimes that it can be like that, and then you have an experience where you're like, oh my God, like how is no one else stepping in here? How is no one else in this room seeing what's happening and interjecting? Why am I alone? And why do I feel so scared to stand up for myself? Because I don't know how to address it. And then I thought about Maggie, and I thought about the conversations that we have with our interns, and I said to myself, if I was them, if they were coming to me with this problem, what advice would I give? Yeah. And I gave that same advice to myself, and I said, you need to say something to this person as best you can in a safe space, obviously, so you're not isolated or vulnerable. Yeah. And I did it, and I addressed it. And it still didn't feel like it was heard, or I think my point got taken across, but it was very shocking to me. I think when I returned from that experience, I was very hyper aware that you can feel safe and you can feel like progress is being made and that people will support you and protect you. Yeah. But I feel like I was reminded that that's not always the case. Yeah. And you have to protect yourself and you have to be your biggest ally. And, if it gets to a point where it's inappropriate, you have to do something about it. And that was just quite a rattling experience that I had. But that's probably a story that I wouldn't share to a young person looking to probably come into the industry, because it's not always like that. Yeah. Like that was one experience out of a lot of experiences that hasn't happened. So
I guess to make that a bit more relatable, would you say that there was a bit of power dynamics at play in there? And if so, it doesn't have to border on sexual harassment, just not quite, but if there was a bit of that power play factored in, would you say this is similar to that situation? And if so, how would you have handled it?
So I don't think it was power play. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was predatory.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But also because when you're at work, there is a level of, you know, like I've got to be a certain way or I've got to do a certain thing because, you know, technically it's like...
You've got a lens on. You've got your work self on.
Yeah, you're in your work mode. So I think once something like that does happen and you are in your work mode...
It throws you off, doesn't it?
It throws you off because you can't handle it the same way.
Correct.
If it was in the street randomly, I probably would have punched him in the face. Don't condone violence, but in a situation where there are eyes or there are other people that you've got to consider, that's when it becomes challenging.
Correct, yeah.
And very political as well. So I feel like that's, you know, it is... I think if there was a bit more of a power dynamic there, it would have been definitely more challenging.
Yeah.
But I think if that had been the case, then I would have done more about it.
Yeah.
Because that would have been really, really, really next level kind of...
Correct.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if this happened 6 months ago and you're now here, what would you tell yourself 6 months ago? What's the advice you'd tell Maggie from 6 months ago or Hannah from 6 months ago? What are those exact words?
I would have texted my manager exactly like what happened right then and there, and I would have gone to someone about it. I probably would have just stood there and giggled and just let it play off, but I wouldn't have sat on it for as long. I know that's kind of not calling someone out for being grubby, but I don't think even now that I would have the strength to call it out, especially if it's one-on-one. If it's in a group setting, potentially where I would have support or backup or whatnot, but on a one-on-one setting I would call someone, message someone straight away. Yeah,
That's good advice.
Han?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of like thinking about it just as you were answering that. I feel like it is really challenging when it does impact your work. Like I think that maybe that's a little bit misunderstood by a lot of people, and maybe this is sort of plays into that Me Too movement or the issues that women face when they do come forward with something, because it is you immediately. It's like all the eyes are on you. You're the one that could be making it up.
You're the issue.
You're the issue. You're the one that could have been asking for it. You could have been the one that, you know, but were you doing this? Like, well, but did you do that? Like, if people are listening and think that's just that narrative that people keep playing into because, you know, that's what people say. Like, but that's what happens. That is immediately what happens. If you escalate something like this, sometimes. I'm not saying that that's the way it is where we are. We're really fortunate in the business that we're in. But I'm saying that, you know, when that does happen, there is such a risk to you as an individual, to you in your job, in your progression. Yeah. The closed network that we are in, it is a very risky thing. So I feel like my answer to that and the advice I'd give, honestly, I think you handled it just the way that you needed to at the moment, at that time. I think going forward, I will keep my back up a little bit taller next time, and maybe I won't laugh along immediately. Yeah. I might nip it in the bud earlier and really say that loudly and firmly and make it known that I will not tolerate it. Yeah. And I think that's also a really challenging thing, and I don't know because I feel like you're very good at calling it out and you immediately do it. You're very quick with it.
Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It all depends on...
It's very circumstantial.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's easy, I think, for me to say, like, I would do this. I'd be like, Fred, what you said was disgusting, you're a grub, kind of thing. But...
yeah, circumstances depend. Yeah. It's hard to say it. But even in that, I know myself very much. I'm a people person. We work in, like, customer-facing jobs. I like to be liked. That is, you know, part of my whole shtick. Like, I need to be received well. Yeah. So by, like, having to say something difficult like that, back to Maggie's point, we are now the problem. So if I address it in a certain way that's different to the way I might have done at the time, then do I become abrasive? Am I aggressive? Am I not someone that they want around because I react a certain way when they're just having a laugh? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. It's like the way you react completely will dictate how you then treated and viewed as moving forward. And that's a challenge. So I think same advice, speak up. Don't, you just stand up taller and address it immediately. And that's probably the only thing I would say differently to myself. Otherwise, it's probably not the last time it's going to happen. Yeah. So we'll have more practice, unfortunately.
Yes.
That's quite unfortunate. But it is good to, thinking through this. Like Maggie, and you were saying Maggie is more aware when it comes to these situations, that she can call it out right away. I'm going to tell you right now, I have I guess people just have different levels of sensitivity towards situational awareness, and mine is probably cranked all the way down. So I sometimes it's lost to me. And if that's the case, would you say that some people just need a bit more, a more vocal punch?
Yeah, I think so. But also, I think it's the awareness. Like, there's another story that is years ago and very separate, but we had a really great colleague that was very hyper aware of the situation that we were. There was a few. Anyway, it's a very long story, but he was extremely hyper aware of how we were being treated, and he immediately was onto it. Like, he was so. I feel like in that moment he became completely protective in a sense, because I think he was so aware. So I feel like, maybe back to your question about how do you support our mission and our movement, is, you know, Maggie saying call it out if you see that grubby behavior. I think it's honestly maybe as a man with a daughter and with a partner, but also just as a man in society, like when you are with people, maybe do pay a little bit more attention. Or I think body language as well. Like, I've got other male colleagues that kind of laugh along, and you're like, bro, like, come on, you know. But also, I think maybe they're waiting on how we react. So if someone does say something inappropriate, they will hopefully stand up. But also, because it always falls onto us, it feels.
Correct.
So if something really gross happens, it's like, well, why did no one else say something? Because really often no one else does. But I think that if people start to do it, then obviously that behaviour will be reduced, I think, by the perpetrators of it. But also, it's more normalising calling it out. So then, as a man potentially viewing something happening, you can look at someone and be like, are you all good? Like, literally a thumbs up. Was that a weird thing for him to say? Are you comfortable with that comment? If the answer is no, and I've just addressed it, then you then know that was not an okay thing. So then you might become more aware of what is and isn't appropriate in some social situations. Do you know what I'm trying to get at?
Totally. And that's something I've learned the hard way just more recently, in that you sometimes men, and I'm not going to generalize it into men, I'm going to say people in general tend to say things that, like you said, they might just be having a laugh. But then again, a good filter that I've learned from a comedian is that if you ended up thinking twice if that joke should be said out loud, then you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, good call.
So that's a good filter to put
also
in
read
people's
the room.
minds.
Like, I don't know how tricky that is. Like, there's comedy, and there's also saying something that's borderline sexual harassment. Then there is sexual harassment. Like, but it's also like it's the intention it's said behind. Like, there's always context. There's always circumstances. You know, there's trust. There's levels of comfortability with different people.
Correct.
I think as a general society, we probably just need to be a little bit more vigilant and conscious of our surroundings when we go and make a joke. Like, I'm not, banging on about like to your point, we don't want to overcorrect. Like, this is free speech and all, but I think it's like, read the room, check in with someone if you think it was weird, and even if it wasn't, if they didn't feel like it was weird and you thought it was weird, then that's then you know where your boundary is.
Right.
And you can even say, bro, I probably wouldn't say that again. Like, that might not land next time.
Or just calling it out in a inquisitive way. What did you mean by that?
Yes, this is my favourite when you do
that's
this.
Good, yes.
Yeah. And
say that again, actually, for the listeners.
What did you mean by that? And that's like, again, do what I say, not what I do. In a group of girlfriends and friends, I can call that out. But for me, I'm still getting there. But what do you mean by that? Beg your pardon, beg your pardon, beg your pardon. And they keep saying it. It's like, why do you keep saying it, you dingbat? Come on. Like, that's an inside brain thought.
Whenever I've seen Maggie actually do that in the wild, it's crazy, the reaction. Like, if you call it out, well, sorry, what did you mean by that comment? Immediately, it's like they actually, and now everyone's looking at them, first of all, so the attention, instead of it being on you from that inappropriate comment, that everyone's looking at you to see how you react, it's immediately back onto them, and now they're the one in the hot seat, and then you watch them flounder. And I think that is a lesson in itself, and I firmly believe that you only have to do that once to someone and they won't ever do it again.
I love that. And I'd bring the popcorn. I'd be the guy who's sitting on one corner grabbing the popcorn and watching how it's going to unfold.
But that's also something you could ask someone, Fred, if you're not sure if that was what the intention was behind that. What was the intention behind that comment? What did you mean by that? If you think it's if you think what they've said is icky.
And I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying, Hannah, earlier, when, sometimes you stop yourself and ask how should I react? Would people think I'm overreacting if I do this? I think that's probably one really good way of putting it ahead of everything else before you react negatively. That's a good,
ask the question.
Good question to ask.
Clarifying question.
I like that. It almost, because it reframes it then. No, okay, that's cool. I'm going to take that advice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Really love that.
Nugget.
Okay. Now, another thing is a lot of people find being in tech sales is where you might make big money. True or false? And what is the reality of the role and what skills? It might almost seem redundant, but what skills do you find serve you the best, especially navigating the difficult bits of the job?
Yeah. Understanding people. I keep coming back to that is my superpower. Understanding the person in front of me. Setting firm boundaries, I think, is really, really important. Otherwise, you're an octopus or like a 16-opus with like 16 arms trying to do 5 million different things. Setting boundaries and knowing the people in front of you. And if you know the people in front of you, whether it's internal, external, customer, whatever it is, you'll be able to nail your role because you figure out how to get what you want by getting them what they want. So it's like that Spider Woman, the three Spider Women or Spider Men, everything's women, pointing at each other. How can you have a win for our customer? How can we have a win for our partner? How can we have a win for us?
Yeah.
And if you get that balance, I think that's...
Which is it's a skill in itself.
Yeah. So, that's my comment on that.
I think to the question about the money thing, being in sales is so good because you really are the maker of your own fortune, I suppose. I feel like working hard, that obviously pays off in this role. Getting out there and seeing your customers and, working, like hustling. You have the potential to make a lot of money in this role or this industry. I think, we are a cutting edge company. Technology is moving faster and faster. There's always something new. A business, there's always a new risk. Our customers will always have a new challenge to face. And, being in the position that we are with where we work, we're fortunate enough to be on that front foot. So I feel like it's endless, really. I think being good in this role, you have a lot of runway to make a lot of money, which is great. It definitely has changed my life for the better. And I think the skills, I agree with Maggie, being open to, hustling. Don't be afraid of hard work. Like, it is about resilience, about the grind.
Yep.
It's about, pushing even though it feels like you're not getting anywhere. Just keep showing up, keep calling those customers, keep having those conversations. It really is just, I make this joke every single end of financial year. Oh, God, it's nearly the last day of, like, the fin year, and, we're nearly there. And then literally 48 hours later, a new one begins.
Yeah.
Like, it does not stop. This is a grind that is continuous. And back to my earlier point, that's why I love it. But I feel like you do need to just keep showing up. You cannot get complacent. There are so many people I've met over my short tenure in this industry that have gotten away with being lazy, and it shows. It shows. You can't stay hidden for long. You're also not very successful.
And everyone knows.
Yeah.
You think you're hiding in that little weasel hole down there?
No. Everyone's talking about it, so you should probably just do some work.
Pull your finger out of your tush.
Yeah, just work hard and hustle hard. And yes, absolutely. I think the world really is our oyster, and we're super fortunate to be in this privileged position.
That's right. And, like you said, part of the job is really showing up every day. And sometimes people find it hard that if you don't understand your purpose in what you're doing sometimes it's really hard to wake up in the morning.
Oh, God,
And look, it's normal, right? Sometimes you just don't feel like getting out of bed. But if I can chip in on that thought, once you understand your purpose and why you're doing what you're doing, it makes probably things... It's easier for you to course correct and steer yourself back into that direction.
100%.
Yeah, I think it's really important with the purpose stuff is with identity, and I've had kind of many phases in my life, coming from playing sport at a high level and then just being a normal human being, even though I was always a normal human being, but not tying yourself up as Maggie, not tying yourself up with your achievements at work as what fills your bucket and whatnot. I am Maggie who owns a business with a husband. I'm Maggie who looks after the channel at Cisco. I'm Maggie who has great friends. I'm Maggie who mentors as well. It's always Maggie first, who has all these elements to who she is, because with like not all the glitz and glamour. I think some people can get kind of caught up with my whole life and identity is my role and how well I do at my role. And then when you fail or things get tough, from my experience and what I've seen and what I've read, is those people fall higher, and it hurts a lot more compared to someone who's like, oh yeah, let's run with the roll with the punches, get comfortable being uncomfortable, kind of thing. So that would kind of be my only takeaway, or another little nugget for you, is like have your identity as many things and not just your success in your career, because that's a really big way to fail. And again, my opinion, potentially struggle getting back up, and we don't want that for anyone.
And I feel like I just add to that again about the identity and about your, getting up in the morning and what sort of makes you tick. I feel like when you work in an industry like IT or technology, or I don't know, just anything kind of maybe corporate to a degree, I sometimes find myself comparing myself to my friends that work in, one of my friends is a Crown prosecutor, and she's putting away horrible people for horrible crimes. And I've got friends that work in, child psychology, and I'm sort of there going, oh God, like, I really wish I was sort of feeling like I could add a bit more value. But then I wake up in the morning and I go, wait a minute, I look after councils in Queensland. I look after healthcare. Yeah. I look after huge industries that are like paving the way for like cancer research. Like I'm so privileged, and the company and what we can offer them and how we help and support our customers is delivering those outcomes and solutions to their customers. That's right. I reframe it like that. First of all, I'm working in IT, like where we serve a very large purpose, a huge purpose. We built the internet. We securely, we do all of that. Like that's huge, right? But that's part of my why, but also, back to this whole entire conversation about sort of changing that gender gap and a little bit of this movement that you were talking about, that is another why. And I feel like I speak for both of us, we are so privileged in our space with our leaders and our company that they encourage us to do that, because that adds like the most beautiful cherry on top of an already fantastic career that we found ourselves in, because we're giving back to a really incredible, I think, part of our community. And I think we're going to see a lot of advancement and changes around the way that we can present as an industry by some of the stuff that we're doing. That's a humble brag.
Yes, but no, you speak the truth that you absolutely are. That is what you are doing now. So I'm just going to close this off really quickly. We've been talking for an hour and a half now, so
we like to yap.
No, but it's really lovely. But so I'll mix this up a bit just to close off. My closing question to you both is, why should the world care about having more women in IT? And add a bit of that controversial twist to it, because you think women can do this better than others.
Go.
Okay, why should the world care?
Yes.
Well, I think I'm a very firm believer in that women have a lot to offer every single industry. I think we have a lot to offer each other, men and women, or all of us as humans. I feel like we work very cohesively together, and I think that having more women in the workforce or in our particular industry will serve as a better perspective, different perspective, more innovation. Women are historically so innovative, and I feel like we've kind of that seems to be forgotten about for some reason, and I feel like we're just sort of grabbing that stick again and being like, you know what, actually we want a seat at the table because we are really, really freaking good at this. We're really capable. We make wonderful leaders. We run families. We hold people together. So
we give birth to people who come out of us.
Like we can only make this place a better place. We can make this world a better place. Like that's all we are asking for. So I think we should care about this because it's super important to every single industry. And if we can change it in an industry like ours, which is still, I think, so still a little bit backwards, then I feel that that's a very positive step forward for all industries.
I love that.
Love that. From my thoughts and feelings, from a technology standpoint, the world is about to change as we know. We've already seen how quickly AI has evolved in the last couple of years. What is that going to look like in the next 2 years? With Olympics, how are we going to use it? With Brisbane Olympics in 2032? With quantum computing, what does that look like? Technology is changing because people have created it. People have thought outside of the box.
Yes.
The more people you get involved, the better something is. From
yes.
From males and females. You want to, like I said earlier, you train the same, remain the same. If you want to do something that has never been achieved before, create cutting edge technology, do something that has never been done before, and that who knows what that could look like or what results that could show for every Fortune 500 company if they were to say, okay, cool, we've got to focus on developing young talent to get into IT. We could see triple digit. It'll be IA. It won't be like it won't be like it won't be AI. It could be IA because we are using the front and the back and the left and the right side of our brain. So we don't know what we don't know what we don't know. If we're going to get the same results now, there's definitely better results out there when we incorporate more people and more diversity of thought and upbringing and all that kind of stuff.
I love that. I love that. And it's not to say that you guys are aiming to you're looking to take over the world. That you can do anytime you want. But I guess
Watch
just
us.
everybody stand on equal footing and contribute to the same goal.
That's all we ask for.
Yeah.
And to your question about, can women do it better the way that it's historically been done? And I feel like I'm going to speak for the entire patriarchy here. We've never really had the chance. We've never been given a chance. So I can't answer that. I can tell you that women will do it just as freaking well, if not like a girl, faster. And I'm just joking, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we haven't had a chance. So we aim to level the playing field. That is all we aim to do. Yeah. And I think that we will see so much from that small change. Yeah. And who knows where that will lead.
It can only benefit everyone.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
I'll tell you what, the reason why I respect women so much and what hard things they can do is because men have never had to run in heels.
Yeah, that's so true.
So
true.
It is quite a challenge, but it is a skill that you can practice, Fred. So if you want to borrow
what size foot are you?
I'm a 10, I think. But yeah.
Oh God, sorry.
That's me.
That.
Yeah, there you go.
No, not a chance.
Women are great at all things, and I feel like I don't know why it's just taken such a long time to have to prove it, and we still keep proving it. We'll keep proving it.
Well, we'll take it one step at a time. Definitely, I love the past 100 minutes that we've been chatting here.
Okay.
Hannah, Maggie, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for obliging and agreeing to this episode. Vlad, I know you'll be listening to this episode, so we'll have them back and we'll turn this into a real party.
Absolutely.
But for now, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you again next time in Packet Party.
You will. Thanks,
Thank
Freddie.
you, Fred. Thanks,
you.
Packet Party.
Boy.